So we're gonna start with resume selection. Any red flags a candidate has will usually show up in the resume before the interviews even start. And after you post a job description, you're going to get inundated with resumes, which means you're gonna have to look through a lot of them. And instead of finding resumes that you really like, you need to first start excluding resumes that are not a good fit. So I'm going to spend the next part of this course talking about the instant disqualifiers in resumes. And the first, starting off strong, is spelling errors. If someone has spelling errors or typos in the resume that they are sending to potential employers, I hate to break it to you, but they're going to be sending janky emails on your behalf after the hire. No joke, I actually had someone write on a resume that they were detail-oriented and they spelled oriented incorrectly. So if you start seeing a lot of spelling mistakes on resumes, just move those to the no pile. And some people might say, well, there are people with learning disabilities who might have trouble with grammar or spelling, and I agree. But even if that is true, or even if that is the case for that individual, they should be using either a digital aid or have someone else look and spell check a resume. And I've hired a lot of people with learning disabilities over the years. And guess what? None of them had a typo on their resume because they either had someone check it over or they used an aid to help them. If somebody truly wants to get hired, they're going to spell check the resume and they're going to make sure it's perfect because they want to get work. And spelling errors at the end of the day are a good indication that someone has low attention to detail for their work or they just don't care about the job. Second is any short stint at previous employment. And I see people complain about gaps in employment a lot, but that honestly doesn't bother me. There's a lot of reasons that people will take off of work, and I don't really think it's fair to fault someone for almost any of the reasons that people take off for long periods of time. Someone who took 5 months off of work 3 years ago because their mom died did the right thing and doesn't deserve to be asked about it in a job interview. So I would actually refrain from asking about big gaps of unemployment. However, if people are staying short stints at multiple jobs, that's another story. And I think even most people watching this video have had a job that they quit pretty immediately. I know I definitely have. I've had multiple jobs that I quit after the first month because of various reasons. Particularly when I was young and working jobs where the companies had predatory practices. But here's the deal. Those 1 to 3 month experiences are not on my resume and they weren't when I was applying for jobs. If someone has a ton of short experiences on their resume, they're going to be prone to job hop or they're prone to getting fired. It's one thing to have short stints, it's another thing to actually list them. And my general rule of thumb is that if you want to look for resumes, make sure you're looking at resumes that have 2 years or more at a role. And 2 years is enough to see the full business cycle. That means they saw the company hit a low point and they saw the company hit a high point and they stayed through all of it. And even multiple experiences that are all about a year long can indicate whoever you're hiring is uncomfortable with change and will leave the minute things do start to get uncomfortable. The third thing that you should watch out for is self-employment. And I hate this one because I feel like I'm actually rooting against myself as well, and most of the people watching this video. But that being said, I am an entrepreneur and I've owned my own business for 7 years. And I would make a terrible employee. There's certain cadence that comes with being your own boss and having to make decisions. And making that mental switch to just working on one small aspect of the company is really difficult. And you can always hire an entrepreneur, but the chance that they are working another job or they have a freelance agency on the side is going to be really high. And if you're okay with that, no worries, but it is something you should be aware of. And if you're not okay with it, don't hire someone who has owned their own company. There are exceptions. And to be fair, one of my recruiters used to own a beauty parlor, and she's phenomenal. But she made it very clear in the resume, or in the interview, because I asked her about it, that she no longer wanted to be a business owner. Because she was a business owner and she had a lot of insight into some of the processes. She actually became very effective, and she's still to this day one of my best employees. But I think that that's an exception. It really is at your own risk. And I'd say my experience is pretty rare. Usually hiring someone who is a serial entrepreneur just means that you're a stopping point until they get to the next thing or move on. So those are some of the red flags that can come up in the resume selection process. You might find some other ones that are more relevant to you or your industry, but once you eliminate some of the resumes that might not be the best fit or the immediate no's, you're gonna want to go through the yes pile and find people to start interviewing.